Today, we're going to expand your pick and roll scoring by looking at some of the most underutilized animations in NBA 2K24 and creating combos that will be impossible to guard. I'm Jersey93, and this is the pick and roll scoring guide. Before we can get into the controls and combos, we have to talk a little bit about drop coverage. Drop coverage is basically the standard pick and roll defensive game plan in the NBA, and its main purpose is to allow the big to contain the pick and roll dribbler by staying back as his teammate fights through the screen and he's able to get back to his original assignment. Also, good drop coverage will force the offensive player to take a low percentage mid-range shot. So the purpose of this video is going to show you some way to counter the drop coverage because we don't want to run our pick and roll offense like my opponent here. So a lot of people's pick and roll game when they want to shoot is using escape, then stopping, then using more escapes until they're freed up for a shot. But there are animations in 2K designed specifically for the pick and roll. To show a clear example of this, let's look at LeBron's pull-up jumper driving to the left. This animation obviously wouldn't be very helpful in a one-on-one situation, but when you use this with a pick and roll, you can see why it's in the game. So instead of doing all of that running and stopping, we could just take our jump shot within rhythm, and you don't have to worry about rushing this shot because this shot is going to be there every time because again, you're going against drop coverage. And if you see a defender going under the screen, shoot the basketball. So another player who has his signature pick and roll pull-up jump shot is going to be Chris Paul. Obviously, this animation is going to give you a lot of separation in one-on-one situations, but in the pick and roll, again, this shot is going to be pretty perfect. Okay, let's finally talk about controls. If you're being pressed, it can be impossible to move. Trying to brute force your way through the contact is just going to end up in this result. So the answer to that is to use a protect spin. When you use protect spin, this is going to free you up from any type of contact that the defender made so that you can move around freely and take advantage of the defense. All you have to do is rotate the right stick in a clockwise manner while you're standing still, and you'll trigger the protect spin. Let's move into our first pick and roll dribble move. All moves mentioned can work outside the pick and roll, but they're most effective with the screen. The first dribble move is the hard dribble stop. This animation is perfect in the pick and roll as it allows you to quickly stop your momentum while scoring your player to the rim, making sure he's not shooting a fade. To do this, you have to be moving laterally and flick the right stick up while holding turbo. Besides the extra benefit of not shooting a fade, you will also set your feet behind the 3-point line if you do this correctly. This shot or this move is pretty much unguardable. A bonus tip, trigger a lateral speed burst animation, then hard stop. This stop will be quicker versus initiating the stop when you've been running around or jogging. The hard stop isn't just a great pick and roll move for jumpers, it's also super shifty. Watch as I use this screen to read my defender, and then I trigger the hard stop to freeze him, and then I launch out of it, giving me an easy floater. The hard stop is probably the perfect animation that you should use if you are playing somebody that jumps your screens early. The reason being is because they jump your screen so early, they already threw themselves out of position. But we also have footage of this working against the CPU online against off-ball defense. I've made a few threes in this game already, and I'm assuming that he switched to no threes in his settings, and that forces the AI to play me much higher on this screen and roll. I cannot shoot from out there, but because they have to play so high, he has to go over all screens, and as you see right here, the hard stop is just going to punish them. Make sure that you hit that like button as well as subscribe if you haven't already so you get more of these videos. Next is the hang dribbles. These animations work well in ISO situations, but they truly were meant for the pick and roll. To trigger these animations, flick the right stick to your opposite hand, but as the basketball is being bounced to the opposite hand, tap the left stick towards your original hand. It can be tricky to get down, so practice first. When you've triggered the animation, you have two launches you can launch with, a crossover or you can launch with it in and out, similar to what Jalen Brunson did a few weeks ago. Timing is super important with these animations, so make sure that you practice the launches as well as the move. Sometimes the correct read is rejecting the screen, and these animations allow you to do that while staying square to the rim to shoot an open jumper, or you'll be able to drive around them if they go over the screen. You'll also want to use these animations versus defenders who have pick dodger on to get a little extra time to read defense. So the thing about the drop coverage is it's going to play one side usually, and if you see that, you can use this animation to take advantage of that and reject the screen. So as you're going to see, he's going to switch on to Luka and send Luka into the screen. He's trying to zone with the off ball, but I still am able to get through the seams and get an easy layup with Chris Paul. These animations are very slept on. Of course, they work well in the ISO, but they are meant for the pick and roll. Next is the lateral hezzies. These animations got a big upgrade with pro play. If you let the animation play out, you'll see a mini walk back is triggered automatically if you don't drive towards the rim. To trigger these animations, simply move laterally and flick the right stick towards the hand that the basketball is in and hold turbo. These animations will help you specifically to attack the defender that is in drop, or to give you an angle against trailing defenders. This animation is super tough for the drop defender because you're basically keeping all your momentum and speed when you hit the corner, and if you place too high, it's an easy bucket. I really like to use this move whenever I'm running a play that's trying to get me to the middle of the court or just trying to force a switch. And in between that switch, I'm going to use this move to put a lot of pressure on the bigger player because they don't have the lateral quickness to keep up with whoever I'm using at the moment. This is also a great move to use if you have somebody trailing off of the pick and roll because they have to try to get back in front of you or on the side of you. And a lot of these players have blow by. And as we learned in my last video, which was all about the blow by badge, if you get on the side of the defender, you will trigger the blow by animation. Now let's move on to our first pick and roll combo. We'll trigger a lateral hezzy first and then we'll quickly trigger our step backs. The first one creates a lot of separation but is a bit slower, while the second one is much quicker. This is a great option to have if you're dealing with pesky defenders like Drew Holiday who have clamps as well as pick dodger, and they're not going to just easily get brushed off of the screen. This is going to give you an option to kind of create separation from them. Now I will say the key to this combo is really keeping the left stick held, but being super quick with triggering the step back. You need to flick the right stick left or right, up or down, depending on the angle or what type of step back that you're trying to trigger. So this animation is just pretty basic, but it's super tough to read. The reason being is because it looks like you're just trying to get to the rim, try to get a dunk or a layup, but the whole time we're just using the hezzy lateral to set up the step back. He's playing off-ball defense, and I would have had even more separation if it wasn't a CPU, but you can see what happens even against off-balling. That's a tough combo right there. Our final animation we'll be examining is the Chris Paul English dribble. This is his signature move that he has used in the pick and roll in real life, and it works the same in 2K. The key to this animation is making sure that you're tight on the screen or not taking a wide angle, but brushing the defender through the screen. This will put you directly in line with the drop defender, and this animation will force them to give up a jumper or step up and get blown by for an easy layup. This animation absolutely cooks off-ball defense, as it's now a 2-versus-1 situation with Looney trailing. When I trigger the dribble animation, it's going to freeze him and give me an easy pull-up jumper. This next clip, I again will stay tight on the screen, not taking a wide angle, and now he has to stop Chris Paul with Julius Randle, but I immediately trigger the animation and he bites on the move, giving me an easy lane to the rim. Off-ball defenders have had nothing but trouble with this animation. This animation also works here versus my opponent who is trying to drop back, but I use the animation to trigger a layup during the yo-yo dribble, almost disguising the layup because it's hard to read where I'm going with the basketball. Alright, so now I want to finally show you guys how you use this animation in the open court. Now, this animation does take a very long time to complete. You can lose the basketball like any other crossover if you use it at the wrong time or in the wrong situation. But so the main thing I love about this animation and how I use it online without the pick and roll is I use it to really sell the drive, and that is going to allow me to transition into my step backs. So as you see right here, he's expecting me to just continue to drive after the move, but instead I'm going to pull the basketball back and I'm going to go into my step back jumper. This animation is just really difficult to read, and the longer you allow this animation to play out, the more likely that Chris Paul is going to score. The other key I would say for this move is to make sure that your opponent is backpedaling regardless if it's the big or not. If you get them backpedaling and you have the space, this animation is just, it's tough. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. I'm JerseyMe93. Make sure you check out my last 2 videos, which was all about the blow-by badge as well as the bulldozer badge with LeBron James, as well as my right stick ripper badge with Jimmy Butler, so you can learn how to get some steals in NBA 2K24. Peace. The pick and fade is perfect for the bulldozer badge as well. So we're going to the last scenario, and I'm going to break this down right now. God bless there. God bless there. Yeah, I'll say God bless there.